Hey y'all, welcome to this week's show. It's good to be back. You may have noticed I did not do a podcast last week. I believe this is the first show I've missed in about 5 years. The reason is, as you may already know if you listened to the show before that, my computer died, my laptop died. And the program I use to record my podcasts and edit them is only available on my laptop. I couldn't use my phone for it, so that was a real pain. Well, it took a lot longer to get a new laptop than I thought it would because I ordered one and they never shipped it. So that was a week lost. And then I ordered another one and it arrived unusable, broken basically. So that was a loss. I got refunds on both of them. But by the time the new laptop actually arrived, I had lost 2 weeks of writing and doing podcasts, which is not good. So I'm trying to catch up. Have been doing a lot of other stuff during the interim, carving a lot of wood. I've been carving spurtles, which are sort of like a Scottish porridge or stew stirring utensil. They're actually really useful in the kitchen. They're great for, well, deglazing pans, for anything. I mean, anything you would use a wooden spoon for, a spurtle's probably actually better. So those have been selling like hotcakes. I mean, I've actually been getting orders faster than I can fill them. So that was good. Bought a new old truck. Yeah, bought a new, to me, new to me, 1995 F-150 Ford stick shift. Been working on it. It's pretty good. The guy who owned it before me put a new engine in it, put a new transmission in it. Seems to have done great on maintenance and it looks honestly, except for a little dent on the side, it's like it just rolled off the factory floor. I mean, it looks like a new truck. It's pretty amazing. Uh, I am having a few issues with it. Okay, if there's somebody out there that knows anything about 1995 Ford trucks, please contact me because I got a few questions for you. Basically, when I start off, it runs great. It runs fantastic. I mean, it shifts as smooth as silk. It's got crazy amounts of acceleration. I mean, this thing's got some serious horsepower for an old straight geared truck. I mean, it's almost impossible to even go in first gear for like more than a few seconds before you have to shift. It's a what do they call it, four on the floor, and you got reverse. So I mean, it's just really a lot more power than honestly is necessary for these little neighborhood streets I'm driving around on, where the speed limit is 25. This truck does not want to drive between 20 and 30 miles per hour. I'm going to say 25 to 35. It just starts like shaking and skipping, and I'm doing everything. I've tried about a lot of stuff so far. I'll just put it that way. From changing out the fuel filter to doing fuel injection cleaners. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Oil change right away, of course. And I guess the next thing to do is try to figure out about the EGR valve. That can be an issue. The throttle may be set wrong. I may have to work on the throttle. I don't know. So anyway, if you know 1995 Ford trucks, especially straight geared. And you got any advice, do please get in touch and let me know. So I've been staying busy and getting a lot of work done. But what's really cool right now, and this is what we're going to talk about in today's show, is this. Well, we're 2 days into spring now as I'm recording this. It's time for those first spring wildflowers. And I'm already finding them. I've already been out looking for them. I got a little bit of mint coming up here and there. The trilliums are coming up. Various things. Those first spring wildflowers are called ephemerals. It's an old term, essentially. It just means these early blooming spring wildflowers that don't last very long. And some of them are among our most useful medicinal herbs, and several of them are among our most nutritious and delicious edible wild plants. You see, I mean, there is certainly an order to the universe. I mean, God made it so that you've been through a long winter, and some of the first things to spring up out of the ground are edible and nutritious. Had that not been the case, humanity would not have survived, and neither would a lot of animals, because it takes a long time to plant seeds the old-fashioned way and wait for them to sprout. You don't. I mean, it's what they used to call the hungry gap. The hungry gap is between. It's really early spring. You've eaten what you had stored for the winter from last year. You've planted your seeds, but they're not coming in for a couple of weeks, a couple of months even. We can get around that a little better than our ancestors could. Using like microgreens, grow lights inside the house. They knew about sprouting seeds and such, so they had alfalfa sprouts and mung bean sprouts and all that good stuff, but maybe they didn't always have access to it. And our ancestors, especially here in early America, were really dependent on these first spring edible plants. And some of these are very medicinal too. So let's just go ahead and get into it. We will start with, from my book, the Spring Foraging Cookbook. I'm just going to tell you about two of them. I'm actually going to cover about 10 plants today. So you might want to take some notes on this or buy my books. That's always nice too if you buy my books. Just, by the way, if you want to order a spurtle, you can email me. They're $30 and they're hand carved and they're really pretty. You can take a look at them on my site, judsoncarrollwoodcraft.substack.com, and or spoons and scoops. I do all kinds of stuff. So I always appreciate it when you support my work. It enables me to do this. Were it not for y'all, I wouldn't have been able to afford to buy a new computer and an old truck. So anyway, one of the first to come up, and I'm going to talk first of all about really more the edible use of a couple of these, and we get into some more medicinal use. Spring Beauty. Now, really two of the prettiest flowers to pop up in early spring are Spring Beauty and Trillium. And the thing about these is both are destroyed by harvesting. So you get one shot to harvest from a Spring Beauty plant or a Trillium plant. You're taking the entire plant. So don't take much. Make sure there's enough to regenerate. If you don't find a big patch, probably don't harvest any. Some people say you can take like one leaf of a Trillium, but a Trillium only has 3 leaves. You pretty much cut the chances of that plant's survival and bearing seeds and regenerating down by a third just by taking one leaf. So it's better to take the whole plant if there's several of them, if there are a lot of them. If they're not, just enjoy them for their beauty. They're very, very pretty. Both of these plants are very, very pretty. And if you live where Spring Beauty and Trillium, of course, are abundant, enjoy. I mean, a friend of mine in Canada has thousands of Spring Beauties that come up outside her window every spring. I mean, she can literally eat as many as she wants and wouldn't put a dent in the population at all. Native Americans really relied on this plant. I mean, it was one of the main seasonal foods that they would look for every spring. And, they ate as much as they needed. And there was plenty. But now we have lawns and we have sidewalks and streets, and there's just not as much habitat for certain plants. Where I live, we get less Spring Beauty. I get to take a few. The root is tuberous. It's sort of tuberous like a potato. And there's no reason not to harvest it if you can. If you got enough of it, it's fine. Each plant produces several small tubers, actually. Keep the largest and replant the smaller ones. I mean, with Spring Beauty, it's a little easier to work with than Trillium. You can reharvest some of those tubers, and it's probably going to come back up. Uh, Spring Beauty, well, it can be eaten raw or cooked. It's like potatoes or Jerusalem artichokes, sunchokes, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't have a ton of flavor, but it gives you needed calories, and our ancestors really did depend on it. It's a little crunchy, almost like a water chestnut. That's probably what I'd describe it more like than a potato, more like a water chestnut. And it's nice, and it feels good between the teeth, I guess is what I would say, And it's going to fill your stomach. It's just not particularly flavorful. It's probably not something you're going to crave. The real appeal of Spring Beauty isn't really the root, even though that is probably the most nutritional part. It's the leaves and stems. Spring Beauty is one of the very best salad greens. And of course, you're taking the whole plant when you eat the greens. So in that case, use the tubers, try to replant one, but you eat that whole plant. And it's really good raw. And I mean, that again, our ancestors needed those vitamins that they hadn't had from raw vegetables or even cooked vegetables through the winter. They had preserved potatoes, so they didn't need that root that much. And, of course, the Indians didn't have potatoes, so they needed it. Well, some did. It just depends on where you live. Not so much in my area. We'll just go with that, or in the western part of the country. But if you were to get down further south, they have been trading with Mexico City. What was trading with Peru, and potatoes were not uncommon. But for the most part, you weren't going to find a lot of potatoes in Canada or England, New England, or anything like that. So anyway, it's really good though. And because it's coming up with ramps, I mean, like one of my favorite salads, if I can find enough, is Spring Beauty leaves and shoots, stems, basically, just the tender shoots with ramps because they're coming up at the same time. And I love ramps. It's my favorite allium, as you know. Toss them together, a few dandelion greens if I can find it, anything else I want to throw in there, and a creamy salad dressing. And ramps and blue cheese just pair perfectly. So I'll either usually make like a homemade ranch dressing or a homemade blue cheese dressing. Here's my favorite blue cheese dressing recipe. It's so easy. Just combine some mayonnaise, sour cream, crumbled blue cheese, a little bit of lemon juice, and if you don't have ramps, some crushed garlic, salt and pepper to taste. Amazing. I mean, it's just delicious. Now you can make a ranch dressing using any variety of herbs you like. Definitely dill is the main flavor in ranch. Dill and parsley, probably a little garlic powder. So this I'd definitely put some crushed garlic in it. And then any good aromatic herbs, anything you would use in cooking to your taste. And I actually gave you that recipe under miner's lettuce. So go back to that one. I went into a lot more detail. So that covers Spring Beauty. The trilliums, they have the tender leaves and shoots. Again, they can be eaten. They're very much like asparagus, but you really are, be careful. Just don't overharvest it. I got tons of trillium. I have as much trillium as my friend in Canada has Spring Beauty. She doesn't have much trillium. I have tons of it, vice versa. Just, responsible harvesting is always very important. So now let's look more at the medicinal uses of these herbs and these plants, well, herbs, whatever you want to call them. And actually, like I said, I got 10 we're going to talk about today. And the first one I'm going to mention, and this is more of an aside because I don't really have the information on this specific one. It's Virginia bluebells, and that's Mertensia virginicana. Beautiful flower, really gorgeous. I mean, and it pops up in the early spring, and it's just one of those things. It's a nice blue flower. It's in the borage family. Most of its cousins have medicinal use. I have not yet found specific medicinal use on Mertensia virginica. Most of what I found is on the European version. So I'm going to keep an eye out on that, and if I do find some, I'll update you on that, as the information becomes available. And if you happen to be listening to the show and you have like some old folk remedy that you learned from your grandmother using Virginia bluebells, please tell me. The next is, well, kind of similar, but what a cool plant this is. Dutchman's breeches. This is Dicentra cucularia. I don't know why I said similar. Actually, they don't look anything alike. Dutchman breeches is so it looks like nothing else, actually. Maybe bleeding hearts. That's also these are in the poppy family. We'll also talk about bloodroot, which is in the poppy family. Bleeding heart could look a little bit like Dutchman's breeches, sorta. They just have weird shaped flowers. This one actually looks like two little mouse ears or something. But people say the flower looked like the pants that Dutchman used to wear, so that's why it's called that. This is not one you're going to want to eat. Now, the Virginia bluebells being in the borage family, potentially edible, but again, I can't verify that. So if you grew up eating them, let me know. The Dutchman's breeches is classified as potentially poisonous, okay? Potentially poisonous. And it can also cause contact dermatitis. Very bitter. I don't think many people have ever really tried to eat it, but it is in the poppy family and it contains an alkaloid that depresses the central nervous system, just like an opioid, just like an opiate, like that comes from poppy, right? Um, Medicinally, it is alterative, which means it can like gradually build you back up to health. It is tonic. In this case, we're talking the bitterness is tonic to the digestive system. In traditional use, the dried, again, it has a tuberous root, but don't eat this one. The tuberous roots were used as a tonic and were recommended in the treatment of certain venereal diseases. A tea made from the roots is diaphoretic and diuretic. Like a lot of these plants, it helps with fevers and helps reduce excess fluid, retain fluid. Now, the poultice made from the leaves is probably the most common use and very different than bloodroot. We'll talk about bloodroot in a second. I love bloodroot. It grows in my backyard. It's one of the first flowers I look for in spring. Um, a good friend of mine from an arid region of California, Nevada, she'd never seen bloodroot before. And I told her about how the root actually bleeds red like blood. That's why it's called that. She's like, that's the most heavy metal plant in herbal medicine. I'm like, yeah, rock on. Lemmy would have loved that one. Lemmy Kilminster. If he was still around, I'd gather him some bloodroot plants and send them to him. But knowing Lemmy, he would have used them for their opiate properties and probably would have hastened his early death. He died all too soon. One of the I'm going to say one of the three best bass players ever lived and far overlooked as a musician. I mean, he played quarterly. I mean, you got guys like, Jaco or Jacko, I think it's actually pronounced Jaco Pastorius. You could name, he did that. You could name guys that play chordal bass like on your five fingers, and you'd probably run out of names before you ran out of fingers. So, I mean, Lemmy was really, really good. But if I'm not mistaken, he drank at least a fifth of bourbon a day, and I think it was more like two with that cocaine and smoked like a carton of cigarettes every day and as much heroin as he could get hold of as well. So real self-destructive personality, but what a fantastic musician. Anyway, the leaves of Dutchman's breeches have been used for skin ailments, but they're also really good to make, whether as a poultice or you can make a liniment out of this. They help with stiff, sore muscles. Probably that opiate type quality that has that muscle relaxing, pain relieving. Used topically, Dutchman breeches is really good, really quite good. And it's coming up now. And if you find it, you can propagate it from root cuttings. You can put this in a pot, let it grow out, kind of divide it, take some cuttings, start new plants. Maybe you can collect seeds. You probably can. Everything in the poppy family has, poppy seeds. But don't let your kids or pets eat it. That's for sure. All right, so moving on to the next one. And it really is one of the coolest plants. I mean, it just looks great. All of these are beautiful. I mean, the spring ephemerals are like, wow, after a long, cold, dark winter, and here we are in March, and it's muddy, and it's rainy, and it's icy, and then you see these like bursts of color and green. I mean, they're just wonderful. And when you're starting to identify plants, start in the early spring. Start when things are coming in. Document, take pictures of them at various stages. If you go out in like, midsummer And when everything's in full bloom and flower and leaf, it's overwhelming. I mean, at least where I live, I could take like maybe 3 square feet and probably find 100 different types of plants in there. It's overwhelming. Start in spring as things come in, and you can also check your books and see, well, when does this come into flower? And if if it looks like what's in your book, and the book says it's coming into flower April 1 or something, sometimes they can be that specific. You, it really helps identify things. So the next one we'll talk about here is Bloodroot, as I promised. I love Bloodroot. It is this beautiful white flower with a bright yellow center. The leaves look almost like grape leaves. Um, really grows all around my house. Very useful plant. Actually, far more useful than the Dutchman's breeches, but in the same family. This is a poppy, and you could potentially use it to get high, but you're really not going to want to because it will cause vomiting and could kill you. It's also a good bit caustic. The sap is. So let's talk about it. You don't eat this one. You don't eat either of those two. Okay. So medicinal use of bloodroot, traditional remedy of several tribes of North American Indians who used it for fevers and rheumatism. I'm actually right now I'm reading from Plants for a Future, so I just want to give credit where credit's due. They did a great job on this one. Used to induce vomiting and as an element in divination. Yes, that's right. It actually does have a strong enough drug-like effect that it can cause visions. It's probably going to cause um, collapsing convulsions and coma if you don't really know what you're doing. And even if you do know what you're doing, you probably ought not do it. So, in modern herbalism, it is chiefly employed as an expectorant. It's really good for getting up mucus out of the lungs. I mean, it really is. It helps to promote coughing, so it's actually not antitussive like so many herbs we use to soothe the cough. It actually makes you cough and helps you cough stuff up. So another reason you probably don't want to take this one internally unless you really need it for clearing mucus out of the respiratory tract. Now, in another month, the mullein will be coming up. Mulleine's much easier on the system, much more soothing, much safer. So I would wait if possible. If I had, terrible pneumonia or something, maybe I would use bloodroot, and I have in the past. I have had to use it. The root is locally anesthetic. Again, the opiates kind of numb things out. Cathartic, emetic, emmenagogue, expectorant, diuretic, febrifuge, sedative, stimulant, tonic. You probably know all those words. It can make you throw up. It brings on menses, gets rid of excess fluid, helps with fevers. Sedative, of course. Also a little stimulating to the digestive system because it is very, very bitter. When taken internally in the treatment of bronchial, respiratory tract, and throat infections, and for poor peripheral circulation, that's another traditional use, is poor circulation of the hands and feet. It does seem to help. Again, with caution, you're going to really want to look into how to use that one before you actually try to use it. Otherwise, you may die. Use with caution and preferably under the guidance of a qualified practitioner. The root is toxic, containing a number of opium-like alkaloids. Yeah, it's pretty actually strong. That can be found in other members of the family. And excessive doses depress the central nervous system, cause nausea and vomiting, and may prove fatal. Yes, this is one that some people try to misuse to get high. It's another one that puts them in the hospital more often than not. Externally, let's see, the remedy should not be prescribed for pregnant or lactating women. I think that's obvious. You're probably going to kill yourself and your child. Externally, the root is used in treatment of skin diseases. That's the most common use, at least in my tradition. It is really good for removing warts, nasal polyps, benign skin tumors. Benign, keep that word in mind. We're not talking cancerous. Also good for sore throats and chilblains. Infusion of the root or sap of the fresh root is used, and the root can be harvested in the autumn. Identify it now in the spring, but when you're harvesting a root, it's generally more potent in the autumn once the plant has had a whole season to gather in its nutrition and sunlight and everything it needs. Yeah, it says don't allow it to be damp because it will deteriorate. They do go bad easily. And sanguinarine, which is obtained from the root, is also used as a dental plaque inhibitor. You remember, I don't know if you remember this as a kid, but sometimes you go to the dentist and they put something on your teeth that made them red. Um, I don't know if they were still using sanguinarine in the 80s when I was a kid, but they used to, and that's exactly what it would do, and it would help prevent plaque and remove plaque. Um, Root is also used to make a homeopathic remedy that's used to treat migraines. A red dye is obtained from the sap of the root. Again, toxic, but that red dye, that sap, not the dye itself, but actually the sap, is an insect repellent. Um, Really, actually, fairly effective as an insect repellent. Um, so, anyway, used with caution, absolutely beautiful. Go out and find it, and if it's something you need, really do your research on how to use it. Okay, I think everything else is going to be a little safer after this point. Uh, yeah, we already talked about spring beauty. I didn't give you the medicinal uses though, and this is in the purslane family. So really, there are very few plants in the purslane family that aren't just like totally. I mean, what's safer than a purslane? I mean, soothing, safe, edible, and the same is true of the borage family for the most part. I mean, I don't know of any toxic borageaceae. So if you're looking at the Virginia bluebells, it probably has been used by at least native peoples. I just have not found any documentation on it. So Claytonia, this is Claytonia virginica. Medicinal use, a cold infusion or decoction of the powdered roots has been given to children with convulsions. It has been said that eating the raw plants, however, permanently prevent conception. I don't think that's at all true. But hey, I'm going to give you the um, warning. Plants for Future says it has been said that they don't have any documentation. I know that I've eaten the raw plants, but of course I'm not female. I know that Native Americans, early Americans, and like a million foragers since have eaten the raw plants, and no one said they couldn't have kids. But I do want to give you that disclaimer just in case. Do your research. I have not been able to source that to any medical text. So I don't think they could either, which is why they said it has been said that. So edible, of course. Root raw or cooked, rich in starch, nutty, pleasant flavor. Yeah, it's a little nutty. Like I said, it's more like a water chestnut. They say it has a radish-like flavor when raw, and it's not really. It's radish-like, a mild radish. We'll go with that. Very, very mild. Um, they say it tastes like a cross between potato and chestnut when cooked, and I agree. It is. It's somewhere between a potato and a chestnut, and I'll really say more like a water chestnut. Roots contain vitamin A and C. Leaves and flowering stems, raw or cooked, used as salad or greens. And leaves can actually be available in the winter. It can actually overwinter, but it flowers in the spring. All right, so moving on to where are we? That was three. Number four. Another one of my favorites. Oh, this is one that grows in the mountains. I don't see it very often elsewhere, and it's just so pretty. As I've told you before, we have several members of the lily family that grow really all around where I live, and some of them don't grow anywhere else in the country. They're just gorgeous plants. This is one you will find it here and there, but it's by no means common. So again, don't harvest it unless you have to, unless there's several. And maybe you could get some grown in pots in your garden if you really wanted to use it medicinally. It can also be an edible, and it is trout lily. Beautiful. It's in the Liliaceae family. Erythronium americanum. It has really interesting leaves. That's where it gets the name trout lily. They kind of have a appearance like a fish's skin, like a trout, and these just beautiful yellow flowers. I love them. And but medicinally, all parts of the plant, but especially the bulbs and the fresh leaves, are strongly emetic and are not to be used internally. Remember that, okay? The fresh leaves are also anti-scrofulatic. Yeah, latic. I think that's the right way to pronounce it. Scrofula, that's the inflamed, infected glands. They help with that. Emollient, which means softening, and are used as an infusing or stimulating, as an infusion that means by tea, or a stimulating poultice applied to swellings, tumors, and scrofulous ulcers. The juice from the crushed leaves has been applied to wounds that are not healing properly, and a poultice of the crushed leaves has been applied to swellings and to help remove splinters. It's actually very useful. A lot of it can be used kind of like you would aloe. The plant, excluding the roots, has been used by Native American girls to prevent conception. And again, I'm going to just, they like to talk about this a lot in Plants for a Future. I'm not aware of any contraceptive effects of trout lily, but that rumor has caused it to be overharvested at times. Um, I don't know of any medical documentation on that, and I don't think it's true. Once again, if it were, those Indian tribes would have been a whole lot smaller, wouldn't they? But no, that was not believed in the mountain folks I grew up around. But edible. I mentioned this is also edible. It's the bulb. It's good raw or cooked. Crisp, a little chewy, very nice taste. It's quite tasty, and oftentimes it's actually buried in the soil. You find the leaves of the plant, and you kind of have to look around for it. Now the leaves are good raw or cooked, added to salad. Um, but if you do harvest the leaves, you're probably again going to kill the plant because that bulb needs those leaves to get some sunlight. So really, it's recommended as more of an emergency food. But like I said, I don't see why you can't grow them because they would look fantastic in a garden. The flowers, buds, and stems are good raw or cooked. They're very edible. Let's see, where are we next? Oh, well, trillium. I've, of course, already mentioned trillium. The most common one used in herbal medicine is known as Bethroot or Birthroot. It's actually Trillium erecta, I believe. Yes, erectum. Trillium erectum, which doesn't sound very good actually at all. But all it means is upright, so we're just going to go with that. Um, Bethroot or Birthroot, which is what the old mountain folks called it, is a trillium. And as I said, you harvest a trillium, you've killed the plant. So don't harvest many trilliums. There are better herbs we can use for these purposes, but medicinal use. Bethroot was traditionally used by various North American Indian tribes as a woman's herb and to aid childbirth, which is why it's called birthroot. I don't know how it actually got the more official name of Beth root, but yeah, the mountain folks I grew up with, whether they were Cherokee or Catawban or Scots Irish or German, they all called it birthroot. So I don't know how they got this Beth thing going, unless somebody named Elizabeth patented it at some point. I have no idea. But it's also used as a treatment for irregular menstrual periods, period pains, and excessive vaginal discharge. Modern research has shown that the root contains steroidal saponins, which have hormonal effects on the body. These saponins are being used in gynecological and obstetric medicine even to this day. The herb should not be taken during pregnancy except under professional supervision. Now, what does that mean? You're probably not going to find an obstetrician who knows anything about herbal medicine. If you do, stick with them. You've probably found a good one. Um, Maybe 1 out of 100 midwives will be experts in herbal medicine. That's what we're talking here about an expert. Most herbalists are not expert in midwifery, and most midwives are not expert in herbalism. Always remember that because people give you a lot of bad advice, and it can really endanger your health and your child. Just I don't give any advice when it comes to pregnancy. That's not my line of country, so to speak. The root is antiseptic, astringent, aphrodisiac. Now that's another one that's more of a folk tale. But what it has to do with those saponins that have a hormonal effect. So actually, it could work one way or the other depending on if you're male or female, and if you're female, where you are in your cycle. So astringent, expectorant, tonic, and a uterine tonic. It is used internally in the treatment of a wide range of women's complaints, including hemorrhage of the uterus, urinary tract, and lungs. I don't know why hemorrhaging would be a female issue, but yeah, I think anybody could do that. But also to curb excessive menstruation. It has proved of value in stopping bleeding after parturition. Externally, it is used to treat excessive vaginal discharge, ulcers, especially varicose, skin complaints, gangrene. Yes, it was actually very valued for gangrene in the Civil War and such, Revolutionary War as well. Insect bites and stings. Also used as a wash for sore nipples. The roots are harvested in the late summer after the leaves have died down and dried for later use. Whole plant is used as a poultice for tumors, inflammations, and ulcers. Now, as I mentioned, it's also edible, and you use the leaves raw or cooked. The the young leaves when they're tender. That's really when you want to use them, and they're very good cooked or raw in a salad. But if you don't have a lot, don't pick them. And one of the most beautiful plants there is, very much associated with various, folks' tales associated with Christianity. This is the red trillium. It has 3 petals. It has 3 leaves. It will leave 3 seeds. So, and it blooms at Easter. So, very much associated with religious folk tales. Now, another one that's going to be coming up, probably already coming up in your area, depending on where you are, is Starflower. And this is Trientalis borealis. Really, it's not showy. It's interesting because it has 7 leaves, 7 petals, 7 stamens, and 7 seeds. So just as your trillium had 3 of everything, this one has 7 of everything. So it's also one that kind of has some folk religious mythology attached to it. We'll put it that way. As far as our native, the Trientalis borealis, I have not been able to find a lot of medicinal or edible use. I haven't found any documentation. That's another one if you want to tell me about it. There is a very closely related one in Europe, and it's called Trientalis europaea. So it's the Trientalis that grows in Europe, also known as chickweed wintergreen. Not edible, as far as I know, but the root was used as an emetic. That means it helps to make you throw up if you maybe took some bloodroot and need to get it out of your system real quick. Also used as an ingredient in ointments for treating wounds. So could be our American version, works the same way. I just don't know yet. As I say so many times, we have scientists and scholars in this country that know everything there is to be known about outer space, and very few that know much about the plants that are growing around them or the soil under their feet. And to me, that's what's important to know. So, I have to do a lot of study on my own, and I hope others will join me in that. Now, let's get into 2 more, actually toxic families, uh, plants of a family that is almost universally toxic. It may be, but somewhat. It's the Ranunculaceae family, the buttercup family. A lot of them have medicinal use, but they all have some level of toxicity so far as I know. These are some of the prettiest flowers that come up in spring. We'll start with windflower, anemone quinquefolia, and I mean, this one I find in the woods. It's known as wood anemone. That's actually one of the more common names for it. Pretty white flower, really pops out at you in the woods in the spring. The anemones, many of them being in the buttercup family, they have an irritating, caustic, rubefacient quality. And a lot of them, and this one included, has been used topically in the treatment of rheumatism, gout, and arthritic conditions. You put it on there, and that heating quality, just like Tiger Balm or even Icy Hot or something, that heating quality helps soothe. But there's also used for fevers, and it is, I guess, caustic. Well, caustic wouldn't be the right word. Vesicant. It raises the veins. It's reddening. Actually, it's strong enough it can help remove corns. So definitely don't go eating this one or rolling around in it. But it is extremely acrid. If you do try to eat it, it's gonna burn your throat and just wreck your stomach. So definitely don't let your kids or pets eat that one. Most animals are smart enough not to. Me, when it came to eating plants, I was not a smart kid. I ate everything, and my mother had to keep Epicac on hand. But that was early training to be a forager and an herbalist, I suppose. Related is a bit more useful. American liverleaf, Hepatica americana. And this is, again, it's an anemone. In fact, sometimes it's called anemone americana. It's also in the buttercup family. But medicinally, this one, I don't know of any edibility to it, and that goes for like just about everything in the Ranunculaceae family. But medicinally, tea made from the leaves is laxative. It's not as acrid. It's been used in treatment of fevers, liver ailments, and poor digestion, also for indigestion. At one time, it was a very sought after liver tonic. In fact, in the mountains, people used to go out and gather it and sell it to drug companies. And at one time, over 200,000 um, dried, well, let's see, kilos. I'm looking at what is a kilo like? It's certainly not a pound. I can't remember the conversion, but let's just say a whole lot of dried American hepatica, liver leaf, whatever you would call it, um, were used by pharmacists and doctors in England in 1883. So, I mean, it tells you what a valuable herb it was. And, a lot of people in the mountains made their living gathering ginseng and liver leaf and just, golden seal. And a lot of it got over harvested. Again, absolutely beautiful. Um, this one pops out. I think a 5-year-old could identify it. Beautiful blue flowers with almost a violet shaped leaf, almost heart shaped, but it's shinier. It's just a waxier, almost like a Galax looking leaf. And yeah, that was a way a lot of people made their money. Still a very useful herb, but as I said, somewhat over harvested. And I don't see any edibility on that, which doesn't surprise me at all. But they give the disclaimer here on Plants for Future. Although no specific mention has been seen for this species, most plants in this family are poisonous. That is true. Toxicity is usually of the low order, however, and toxic principle is destroyed by heat or drying. So that's how you could use the dried leaves in a tea for liver issues. And who knows? Maybe it could actually be edible if it was dried or cooked. I don't know. It's not what I've ever seen listed as an edible. And finally, we'll finish up with really another one of my favorites, and it's toothwort. Um, I've got an article on toothwort in one of my books. I wasn't able to lay my hands on it, but just right now as I was preparing for the show, I'm going to just tell you that it's a pretty flower. It's usually sort of a whitish, soft pink, and it's one of the first that pops up. Uh, it's really identified by the leaf. The leaf has these indentions. It's like toothed, just like a dandelion is said to look like a lion's teeth. I don't know who came up with that. Maybe somebody had been eating bloodroot or something. But it's called, dent de lion. That's dandelion. It means tooth of the lion. Um, Cutleaf toothwort, all the toothworts actually, they have these indented tooth-like leaves, and they'll come up in early spring. Flowers gone in the blink of an eye. Um, it's in all the cardamines or in the cress or bitter cress family, and the underground. It's a perennial. It will grow from the same stem each year, so you can identify them and come back the next spring if you missed your opportunity. It is very tasty. It's really one of my favorite wild edibles because I like horseradish and such. I just remember which book that's in. Toothwort. You know what? It's in my spring foraging cookbook, and I will actually discuss that. You know what? In maybe next week's show or the show right after that, I will make a mental note to do that. Toothwort's root is much like horseradish. It's peppery. Everything in the cress family, the cardamine family, the bitter cress, and some regular cresses actually fall into that. Let me see if I can get a family name. Well, it's in the crucifery family. It's in the same family as broccoli and cabbage. Okay, so I mean, it's not one to be afraid of at all. Okay, I mean, it's really very very safe to eat. The root, like I said, is somewhat like horseradish when raw, especially. It loses a good bit of that pungency when cooked, but it's really good to include in potato salad. And the greens are like watercress, that nice peppery watercress that makes goes so well in a sandwich with boiled eggs. And you can use it as a relish. You can use it as seasoning for your food. The leaves, the root, everything about this is like peppery. It's like I like that. I like that a lot. That's more what when it said earlier that Spring Beauty was sort of radishy. I don't think so much, but um, Carmine, the toothwort, is quite radishy. It's got a good punch for it from it, and I like it a lot. Now, as far as medicinal use, I don't have any I can lay my hands on again right now. Yeah, I'm switching everything over, to the new computer. I don't have all my files yet, but if I remember correctly, that peppery quality was used as a counter irritant to like a toothache. I'm gonna have to look that up, but I believe it was used as help with the pain of a toothache, but could also be poulticed and put on the chest to help break up congestion or to help with fevers and such. But I'll have to look into that, and I know I have a whole chapter on this one in my book, so we'll get to that in a couple of weeks. Y'all, thanks for sticking with me the past few weeks when I haven't been able to do my work as I normally would. As you may know, I actually I run 3 newsletters through Substack, and one is exclusively for herbal medicine. One's for my Catholic Christian writing, and another's for my wood carving. Um, I got delayed again because the first thing to go on the old computer was my camera, so I couldn't do. I had planned on doing videos showing you how to, well, anybody interested, not you necessarily, but anybody interested how to play mandolin and some guitar stuff. I didn't get to start that yet. Hopefully, I can do that in the next week or two. But that I have a separate newsletter for that. Because I was doing everything on my phone, I sent out Catholic articles through my herbal newsletter. I thought, you know what? I don't have that many, probably subscribers to my herbal newsletter. Most of them aren't Catholic, considering, this is America and it's not exactly a Catholic country. I'm probably going to lose a lot of subscribers. Well, I said a prayer about it, didn't worry about it. I did it twice. Actually, I did it 3 times because I'm doing this on the phone. I can't tell which is which. I lost like a dozen subscribers the first time, and maybe 10 the next two. So I got over 2,000 subscribers. It wasn't the end of the world. I appreciate y'all sticking with me through that, especially if that was content that you weren't interested in. I sent out one of my wood carvings on the herbal newsletter one time. Didn't realize it till the next day or whatever. Actually, one of my herbal subscribers bought it like immediately. So that was great. And I didn't lose any subscribers off that one. If I did, it was like 2 or 3. I didn't even notice. But anyway, I haven't been doing my weekly articles. I haven't been doing my regular podcasts. God willing, everything's going to get back to normal now. And I just want to say thanks for sticking with me. It means a lot to me. I know I've got a lot of really loyal listeners. Y'all give me feedback. You talk with me. You sometimes check in on me if I don't sound myself or something. It's nice. It really is nice. We've got a good community here, and hopefully, get my truck running well and fix the hurricane damage on the house, and maybe I can start doing some classes and plant walks this year like I had planned and really wanted to do last year, but everything, the weather and other issues, a family health issue, and then this year, I mean, I've got so much hurricane damage to fix, it's just crazy. But if I can get that done, maybe we can start getting together in person, meeting each other, going out in the woods. I'll show you how to identify trilliums and toothwort and spring beauty and how to eat it and how to use it medicinally, or maybe we'll sit down in a classroom and do some serious herbal medicine or cooking classes, whatever you want to do. And I mean, I'm totally certified. I can certify someone as an herbalist. That's part of all those certifications. As being a master herbalist is like I can teach you and certify you. So I'd really like to do that. It's great you listen to my podcast. I think you get more herbal information from my podcast than any other source on the internet. It's a library. I mean, people said it's like drinking from a fire hose. My buddy James over at Prepper Radio, he says it's a master class. Well, that's what I'm trying to do, okay? If you've been listening to this podcast, you've been basically taking free, in my opinion, best, most comprehensive herbal medicine lessons that I'm aware of. And if we get together and spend a week or so together and we go over everything and you show me that you know what I know, I can make you a certified herbalist. That could be a career, it could be a hobby, it could be you could start writing books like I do, you could start your own podcast. I want to do that. I really want to do that. God willing, before I leave this earth, I will leave behind at least a couple of dozen people to do what I'm doing now. And I don't want credit for it or anything. I'm not looking for that. I want this information preserved. I want to pass on what was given to me. I was taught by people in their 80s and 90s information they learned from their grandparents, who learned it from their grandparents, who learned it from their. I got to pass that on. So that's a big reason why I do this podcast. It's really the biggest reason why I do this podcast. Podcast doesn't make me a lot of money. It's great. It pays for itself. The ads you hear actually pay for the hosting, and every now and then I make a little extra, $10 or $20. Seriously, it's not a big money maker. It does help me sell my books, and as I said, I really appreciate when y'all buy my books. But what it really does, I don't have any kids of my own. I still got time. I'm in my 40s. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know. But it allows me to pass that knowledge on. And that's the most important thing. We're sitting here on, the cusp, as it is right now, of millions of years of human history. With the herbal knowledge that I know, that I've learned, that I've studied and researched, whether I was taught or researched on my own, goes back at least 10,000 years and was built on by every single generation over that period of time. From ancient Sumeria and Mesopotamia and Egypt and Israel to modern Europe, to the Middle Ages, to the Christian era, to modern Europe, to America, and I'm sitting here on 10,000 years of the cumulative collection of this plant knowledge. And that's my goal. I want to give that to you, and then I want you to build on it. If you want, I studied Chinese medicine, I studied Ayurveda, I studied, building on that tradition that I learned from the Appalachian folks, which was a combination of European and Native American herbalism. There's much more to learn. There's much more to learn. A lot of American herbalists haven't really, some focus exclusively on South American herbs, right? A lot are focused entirely on a different school. We're going to keep bringing these schools of knowledge together from places all over the globe, every single plant. And some would say it's going to be like eventually this like eclectic school. That was actually the goal of the eclectic school of herbal medicine in early America. It would be the greatest body of herbal knowledge. Actually, I believe it's just relearning what we've lost over time, because according to like ancient Jewish legends, the after the flood. Well, first of all, they said, like Adam and Eve knew everything about all the plants, right? The Bible says that King Solomon knew everything about every plant on earth, okay? After the flood, the archangel, I guess it was Raphael, was said in these Jewish legends to have taught Noah and his descendants all about herbal medicine. So I don't really see it as learning something new, as regaining what we've lost. And to me, that's why it's important to pass it on, because you have to have a foundation to stand on. We need to know what our ancestors knew, or where, it's a house built on sand that you can't stand. So anyway, y'all, thanks for putting up with me the past couple of weeks when things have not worked out right. Say a prayer or wish me well that things will get better soon and I can get my truck running properly and my house fixed and everything I got to do. And do share this podcast with people. You know, I got a couple thousand, 2,000 subscribers. I want 2 million. It's not going to make me any more money. I want 20 million. I just want to spread it. That's certainly one way you can definitely help me if you're interested. You can help us all. I mean, wouldn't it be great if someday we didn't have to have health insurance and spend a fortune with doctors and pharmaceutical companies? We could all just help our families and ourselves and our neighbors. I think that would be ideal, actually. So, y'all have a good one, and I will talk to you next. The information in this podcast is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or condition. Nothing I say or write has been evaluated or approved by the FDA. I'm not a doctor. The U.S. government does not recognize the practice of herbal medicine, and there is no governing body regulating herbalists. Therefore, I'm really just a guy who studies herbs. I'm not offering any advice. I won't even claim that anything I write or say is accurate or true. I can tell you what herbs have been traditionally used for. I can tell you my own experience and if I believe an herb has helped me. I cannot nor would I tell you to do the same. If you use an herb anyone recommends, you are treating yourself. You take full responsibility for your health. Humans are individuals and no two are identical. What works for me may not work for you. You may have an allergy, a sensitivity, an underlying condition that no one else even shares and you don't even know about. Be careful with your health. By continuing to listen to my podcast or read my blog, you agree to be responsible for yourself, do your own research, make your own choices, and not to blame me for anything ever.